Welcome back, Kevin's Mobile Repair. Got 2016 Kia Soul. Just did an oil change. Now we are doing an AC in-op. First thing I did is hook up my high and low side gauges. A lot of amateurs will only have the low side, which is fine, which is designed for filling the system up. But as a professional, we want to see both high and low side. It tells us how much Freon is in there when the system is running. When the low side, it's a lot of it's going to be temperature based. So today it's 93 here in Georgia, so I'm going to want to see anywhere between 38 to 45 on the low side, and the high side I want up in the 240s 250 range. As the temperature gets higher, so the pressures. If everything is as of right now, this is why the AC doesn't work, because there's no pressure in the system at all. So we're going to add Freon into the system. It has dye in it, so it'll help track down the actual problem with the leak. I know there's a leak somewhere, don't know where it's at. So the amount of time it takes for the Freon to leak out will determine the size of the leak and where to go look. If it's a really quick leak, it's usually going to be some sort of rubber hose connector or something like that, or someone hit a rock in the condenser area. So I'm going to get this charged up, let it run for a couple minutes, and see if I can see any quick leaks. The dye is a UV dye, so you can use a UV dye light to help you find it. But as most professionals probably don't need this, because they know what the dye looks like outside of the can and don't really need the UV light. UV light helps for when it's a really stupid small leak, but most of us know what it looks like and where it's located. It's going to look like an oily patch. So I'm going to charge the system up, let it run for a little bit, and we will see what we can do about finding a leak on this, and whether or not it's a large one, find out real quick, or a small one. May take a whole summer to diagnose. Be right back. Okay, so we got the system charged up. Now I only got 1 pound of Freon. This is going to take 0.25 gram or 25 grams, which is a little over 1.2 pounds. But this is enough to get the system up and working. As you can see, we are at, a little hard to read on this gauge, but this gauge right here is showing 44 psi on the low side and about 200 on the high side. So it's not all the way full, but it is enough in order to get the system up and running, and it does cool off. So optimally, I want this around the 245 range for the temperature of the day. Now, the system is getting cold, so I know the compressor's working, the dryer's working, nothing clogged up in there, nothing clogged up in the expansion valve, which is that little booger back there. The fan is also working, so we basically just have a AC leak. I've done a quick look at it so far, and I cannot find anything, so this is going to be one of those really small ones. So what you typically look for, tell the customer, is call me back month and a half, however long it takes in order for this to stop working. That amount of time when the customer calls you tells you the size of the leak. 1 pound of Freon is not a lot. It does not take a whole lot to let this escape. When the system is at rest, everything will be about 100 psi. So you have 100 on the high side, 100 on the low side, and it does not take a whole lot for that to leak out. So just basically down and dirty stuff, like where that hose right there meets that metal connector, that's where stuff likes to leak. Or up at the front where the condenser's at, rock hits it, weld joint broken, something like that. The one that you can't see is going to be the evaporator, which is inside the car, inside the dash. That you can't physically see. That's going to be a smell. If you let the car sit for a little while, a couple hours, come and start the air conditioning, start the car up, start the AC. If you smell a quick puff of Freon and it goes away, that's typically an evaporator leak on the inside, because the Freon will kind of hover itself at the top of the box, and as the air flows through it, it will then come out the vent, so you'll smell it real quick and it'll go away. If you haven't smelled Freon, don't worry about it. It's a very interesting smell. It's you can't really describe it. You just have to be around it for a while. But it's definitely a different odor. It almost smells like a musty odor, but that's how we usually determine evaporator leaks, the real quick way. The other way is to get a electrical sniffer up somewhere inside the cabin area or coming out the vents, and it will detect the Freon chemically, and that way it will tell you, yes, I got evaporator leak. Or the other trick is there's a drain tube down at the bottom. All cars have it. If there's the oil and the dye mix where this is leaking out, say down at the bottom of the evaporator, that's the best part. It will then drip with the condensation, it will drip out dye. So you'll see dye coming out of the drain tube at the bottom. That's the other surefire way. Sometimes they leak up at the top, so the oil doesn't quite circulate up there as easily as it does by pulling down at the bottom. But those are the ways that you can usually detect if you have a AC issue as far as that. So this is a hot summer this year, so everybody keep their air conditioning system working up to speed, and everybody stay frosty. Any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know.